To me, the reason why the Knicks lost this series or didn't really give it much of a series was the fact that the Knicks in this series got outcoached by Nate McMillan. He outcoached Tom Thibodeau. Now, do I think Nate McMillan is a better coach than Tom Thibodeau? No, I don't. I do believe the Hawks had a more talented team. They have more depth, and you could see that coming off their bench. They were a better three-point shooting team. And you saw that difference when Trae Young really got hot. Collins got hot. That, to me, was the big problem in this series. And by the way, losing Mitchell Robinson the way they did throughout this season from injury after injury, you saw that in the playoffs. You really did. Now, I don't know what Mitchell Robinson could do in the playoffs because he's never played in the playoffs, but he is by far their best big man. It's not even a question anymore. Taj Gibson, you got to give him a lot of credit. The veteran player that he is, the captain-like skills that he has, and even at the end of the game with the press conferences, it shows you his leadership and why Tom Thibodeau loves him so much. And Derrick Rose, too. He's grown up as a player. He really has. He's been absolutely sensational for the New York Knicks ever since they made that trade with the Detroit Pistons. So they absolutely stole Derrick Rose from the Detroit Pistons. But to me, the quality of shooting throughout this series was absolutely horrendous. Julius Randle was averaging 28% in the playoffs, which is the worst ever by a New York Knicks player in a first round of the playoffs. RJ Barrett, who you thought was playing, didn't play that well. RJ Barrett's numbers weren't as bad as you thought they were. Average 14, average about 7 rebounds and 3 assists, 38 around the perimeter, 38%. RJ Barrett is a young player. He's going to learn as a second-year player, a 21-year-old, what he did wrong and what he should have done better. And obviously coming out and saying that he guarantees a win was a big mistake. You're not Mark Messier. You're not a superstar player yet. You should not be speaking because you threw the Knicks under the bus. And I'm telling you right now, if you don't think Nate McMillan put that on the board, you don't believe Trae Young heard what RJ Barrett said, you're sadly mistaken. So, Josh, I look at the Knicks. I think there's a lot to look forward to next year. The $60 million that they're going to have that they can spend in free agency. Do they re-sign or extend Julius Randle 4-year, $100 million? Or you heard that they reached out to the Portland Trailblazers after they got eliminated for a guy like Damian Lillard, who a lot of people believe wants to come to a big city, wants to come to a place where he can move forward with his rapping career. What are your thoughts to what the New York Knicks did in the playoffs and what should they do in the offseason?
Well, what they did in the playoffs was they got punched in the mouth.
I love doing that to you, by the way. Punching you in the mouth and the stomach, Mr. Fluke Cat.
It was a learning experience, right? That's how we look at it. They're a young team. It was almost like Julius Randle's playing the NBA this season, went to the playoffs, and it was on the side of a milk carton. It was MIA. And not even that. Honestly, they were fun to watch. They were so boring to watch in this playoff. You brought up Trae Young destroyed the Knicks. Dude, Clint Capella decimated the Knicks, especially on the inside. It wasn't even close. Watching Clint Capella play in that series was like watching when the Knicks played the Pacers a couple years ago and Roy Hibbert dominating the same way.
The Knicks have a stilt as their center. Nerlens Noel, he had a great season, one of the best offensive rebounders in the league.
And then he hurt his ankle in the
series. Excuse. Once you get into the playoffs,
he was gone, dude. He stunk.
Nerlens Noel is a stilt. That's what he is. He's just a long man who, in the playoffs, everything that he did in the regular season is completely different in the playoffs. You see games completely taken to another level. You saw Trae Young take his game to another level. We've seen it over the years with LeBron James, Dame Lillard. We've seen these guys, stars, take it to the next level. I'm not saying Nerlens Noel is a star, but you're the best offensive rebounder in the league. How do you let Clinton Capella actually out-rebound you on the offensive board? The answer is
quadruple the size of him. He's quadruple the weight of him. That's why. And the fact that he talked the trash before the game 5, he said, listen, we're going to send them home, and that's it. And the Knicks didn't even respond to that. Just shows that they didn't have any heart in the series. Their perimeter defense was atrocious. How many wide open shots did the Atlanta Hawks have in this whole series? It was ridiculous. They couldn't block the perimeter at all. Speedy and I had a side conversation when Speedy said the Knicks have more depth than the Hawks. I said the Knicks will win the series, but I think the Hawks have more depth. And you said, no, they don't. And I said, nope, they are such a good, underrated young team.
You know how many stupid things you've said over the last couple of months?
Trae Young,
give me a break.
Capella, Bogdanovich is another one. I mean, it was insane how good that these guys were. And they couldn't miss. They could not miss shots, man. Like, you saw wide open shots for the Hawks. Every time the Hawks had a wide open shot, I knew it was going in every time. When the Knicks had a wide open shot, I had no confidence in this team at this point.